welcome to another edition of Dan's Fishing Tales. Today I want to talk to you about some things that you can do, but probably the most versatile bait that you can use, and that's soft plastics. You know, you might use a plastic worm or a plastic minnow body swim bait, whatever, and it gets ripped up and you take it off and you have to discard it, which you should never discard it out on the shore or in the water or whatever. Take it and throw it away properly. But that's not what we're going to be talking about here. We're going to be talking about the fact that you can keep using that body a lot longer than you think you can. And I'm just going to give you a few ideas here, a couple of them that I use, and you can just take off from there and do it more. In fact, plastic worm, and that's simple. Your Texas rigging a plastic worm. Head gets ripped up after a few hits, depending on what you use, because this new elastic stuff lasts a lot longer, but it still wears out, and any of them do. Well, say you're using a plastic worm, head gets ripped up, all you got to do is cut so much of that head off and you could actually start catching more fish. If they want the longer body, no, that's not going to work well. But say you shorten it up, and that's easy to do. In fact, another thing you can do is keep those back. You find out that, hey, fish are hitting on a shorter worm than that, well then keep one of those others, or keep several of them, keep them in another bag. Cut the head off and either use a sharp pair of scissors or something like I did. In fact, I think I got it laying here, but I'm working on them. Oh, here it is. This is what they call a click and cuts, put out by Cold Steel. And it has several different types of blades you can get. Well, I happen to put one of these utility blades like this, very sharp. All the blades for this thing are sharp. So I like to keep one of those around, especially for this or cutting braided line. Anything like that works real well. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what, as I said, you cut the head off of the thing, you get yourself a fresh worm. Alright, now, minnow bodies. This is where you can really come up with something different. And what I'm going to show you is what I've been catching a lot of fish on recently. It's using a Blakemore Casey's runner head. It's been working real well, but what I'm doing with it is I'm using a body the Natural Forage Bait puts out. And what it is they call it a drop shad. Just a skinny body, just like this, but it's got a real good tail here. Alright, say the head gets ripped up here. What I do is I just cut that off, move it up, make it a little bit shorter body, and a lot of times that will work just as well or even better. It just depends. It doesn't really seem like it makes too much difference as you're going up, but once you get so far, you can't reuse it for that, but it might work for something else, such as, I know a lot of you have seen me doing finger jigging. I've done several videos on finger jigging, and one of my favorite lures to use for that is what they call a T-shad, or even a fat shad, which is quite similar. And those are put out by Natural Forage Bait. Well, I'll also use this. I'll use it full size, yes, but we're not talking about that. What we're talking about now is cutting it down. And the difference is, and here I'll show you. I got one all set up. I took the body, I cut the next piece off, cut it nice and straight. And then what I did is I used a Bee Fishing H2O head right here. And this has the spike, the regular wire keeper, which that's what I like to use on these because it does not tear them up, it doesn't flare them out, it puts it down more natural. But see, this is the same one I just showed you, but see how much shorter? Here's the thing though, by using this smaller head, I have now turned this into more than just a bass bait. This makes an excellent crappie bait, and for finger jigging, because it has a little longer tail than what the fat shad or the T-shad has, this gives it more action for the finger jigging. You can just see it, just holding it there, it's wobbling around. Well, use that on finger jigging, and that jig's popping along like this, that tail's just going like crazy, and it works perfect. Now what I've done is I've turned this one soft plastic lure into two different types. This, I just call it a mini drop shad. They don't make a mini drop shad, but I made one. And again, if I'm not going to cut it otherwise, I might keep those back and say, okay, I want to try some of these days, especially if I'm going for crappie. But this will also take bass. Now another one, and this is the thing, a lot of you would say, well, gee, you can't do anything with this. Well, yes, you can. And this is what they call, it's a Yamamoto Zako. And it's a swim bait, very odd swim bait, really. Here it is here, and I have it on a Bee Fishing head. And this particular one is starting to get a little bit chewed up. And as you can see, I've been using it, been having some hits on it. But see how that is? You'd say, well, how can you cut that off? Well, what's really kind of torn up here is just right up here. So I just cut this off and put it right back on this head, which that's what I'm going to do, and no problem. But say it gets torn up like they do way down in here. I'll show you what I do, because you can do something just a wee bit different. You could use this jig head on what I'm going to show you, but I would rather take like a Blitz swim jig and use it there, and I'll show you. Here it is here. Here's the chunk I cut off. Pretty good sized chunk. And the body comes out now like this. It's mainly tail with that. And you can see I cut all this off. Now I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. This is a Blitz swim jig right here. I'm going to put that on here. And we got to get it around here. It's got the skirt. By the way, this right here, these weed guards, I fan those out so that they will be a little bit more weedless. Now we take this and we take a look to see just how you want it, because see, it's got a little bit of a bow here. Well, that's what I think I want downward. So I want to put it like this, and we'll scoot this up. We'll stick this head in here, or the hook I should say. We bring it around. Now once it starts to go around the bend right there, okay, we're going to bring it back out, because I'd like to keep this in the fatter area, which I did. Now see, it's a shorter bait, true, but that's going to swim different. That's going to make some body to this swim jig. And I picked a jig which the tail kind of matches to, as you can see, except it's got this blue in it. And again, this is a Blitz swim jig, and I think this is about the 3/8 or quarter ounce size, I can't remember. But I'm going to be using that, and I think this is going to work pretty doggone good, because the Zaco itself's been working real well. The swim bait that we've got here, the swim jig, not the swim bait, but a swim jig, this now is using a swim body. It's quite different, as you can see, and I think we've just made ourselves a real good lure here. And that's what you do, you experiment with it. How well is it going to work? Are they hitting on swim jigs? Are they hitting on swim baits? Maybe they're hitting on boat. What better way to do it like that? And another thing you can do is just take like a regular natural forage bait swim bait, which has the paddle tail on it, or even a pulsar, which is put up by Bee Fishing, and again, the head gets cut up, they're all torn up, then you take it, cut it off, and you use it for a body like that. But one like that, that could be one of those little secret lures, you know. Yeah. Sometimes you run into those and you find some tips and tricks. Well, that will work for you. But anyway, that gives you an idea of some of the things that you could do with the soft plastics, and you can do it with any worms and that, just like I told you earlier. 4-inch worms especially. Now, before we get away, I'll talk about that. This is actually the R4 worm. It's a finesse worm that's put out again by Natural Forage Bait. The head is a finesse jig. So you got a skirted jig here. Well, this one, as this gets torn up here, this is a real good one just to keep working on down. And I think really, and I've had it clear down to here, and you can see you still got plenty of tail on this. It's called a spider jig, but it's a finesse spider jig put out by Blitz. And you still got plenty of tail, but with this longer tail, a lot of times you got that. And this is a full-size one. This has not been really used yet. But I got it sitting there all rigged, ready to go. So anyway, like I said, that gives you some ideas, and you can experiment all you want, but just don't throw those soft plastics away. Just use them up until the point where you can, and you got pieces like I cut off here, like this, these little pieces, all this sort of stuff. Now's the time to throw them away. Although, one more tip. If, say you're a person that's using waders, rubber waders, like Northern, like the old service rubber Northern boots, those sort of things, and you've got a hole in them, and you got a little leak in there. I mean a little leak, not a huge leak. Heat that up and smear it on there, smear it into that hole, and a lot of times that'll plug up the leak, at least for one trip. You may have to do it again, but at least it'll keep your feet drier right there. And again, there's things you can probably think about that you'd be using on it. So again, don't throw them away. Just take them, and then once they get down to this, yeah, you can use them for your, keep at least one, use it for whatever you're going to use otherwise. Then discard them properly. Put them into a proper garbage facility. So until next time, get out of the water and enjoy a great day of fishing.